Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast. I'm JT, joined by Frank, Jake, Lounis, Season 2, Episode 44. We are kicking things off with our divisional rankings. I don't know what Frank has the description.
Okay, ready for this? Ready for this?
Okay.
Ready for this?
Ready.
We are going to be ranking, just like last year, basically every relevant dynasty player in fantasy football. We will be saying if they are either overrated or underrated. There's no Lounis bullshit where you say, oh yeah, well I like him, I'm consensus he's good. No, you gotta go overrated, you gotta go underrated. One of the two. We're gonna go through all the divisions. Right before the season starts, we'll have a chance to revise anything at that market price, right? But we're going in. NFC East to start. It's going to be freaking wild.
All right, that was way better of a description than I could have given, so thank you for that. I especially appreciate the Lounis impression starting off early. But first, let's kick it off with some quick news and notes. Deshaun Watson, more news about him. Seems like he's probably going to get suspended for a decent amount of time. Speculation is now back to a year. I don't know, guys. Lounis drafted him first in our startup. We're going to be doing the startup later.
Yeah, I would not do that this week. So that's my advice. Don't listen to me. Last week.
Is there actually a new dip with Deshaun? Is his price back down?
Yeah, thing. I was looking at his keep trade cut. Down. His keep trade cut's trending down. He's actually the top 5 follower of the last 30 days already, and that's without a full market adjustment so far.
What's he down to?
He's down to 5704, making him quarterback 9. He's dropped in between Russell Wilson and Trey Lance. He's at 5694 is his current keep trade cut value. His low point was looks like to be about January. Maybe a little before that. His low point though was like in the 4,000s. Actually high 3,000s, 3,880. So he's up a decent amount from then, but he's still down like 1,200 from his peak of a couple weeks ago. So,
yeah, I think we're not going to see, at least in my opinion, that major low point that we saw earlier, mainly due to the contract. Because that giant, massive guaranteed contract, there's going to be enough confidence that long-term outlook is favorable. Whereas initially there was speculation of, okay, will Watson even be able to be traded? Like that was kind of priced into that initial low point. Do we see Deshaun keep going down from now?
Yes.
Okay, where? Is he going to be firmly under Russell Wilson, at Russell Wilson?
The two guys, Russell Wilson and Trey Lance, I'd much rather have either of them than
he's going to be firmly under those two, definitely. I think he's definitely going to be under not Jalen Hurts, but Trevor Lawrence. I think he'll definitely be under someone like Justin Fields. He might be under, because I personally think, even though, look, what came out is, I mean, it's bad. It's definitely not good, but it's more of the same. It's like Deshaun Watson was a creepy guy who was getting massages from people and asking them to do sexual favors, which they did not want. Obviously a very wrong thing to do, but it's just more news. And I think the optics are just going to keep piling on until the NFL finally, like you're going to see more and more reports come out until NFL gives the people what they want and suspend them for a year. Which
I think that New York Times article is going to be a game changer, because the NFL cares about PR with all of this. That's how I think what you're going to suspensions.
You're just going to see more and more articles come out from different publications until Watson gets suspended for what I think will be a year.
Okay, so actionable advice. If you have Deshaun, are you panic selling? Are you looking to target Deshaun? Any opinions on what to do with him?
I mean,
definitely
at this
not
point,
looking
you've held.
to target. You probably just have to hold and just pray. Because I don't think panic selling is the smart move, but I don't know, if you can get a good return, if I can somehow flip Watson into a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, I'm doing that in a heartbeat.
But would you guys flip a Jalen Hurts into a Deshaun Watson? Assuming Watson's out for the year, would you trade Jalen Hurts for a Deshaun Watson?
I don't think. I don't know.
I don't think
That's
so.
Unless you can pick up
Those
some
two are
value
close.
to like, it's kind of like the NBA here, where you're like, okay, I have this horrible contract, and I have to trade it, so I'm going to attach a first round pick to it.
Yeah.
So if you can get some value along with Deshaun Watson to take him, I think you might be able to.
I just think that's never happening.
Yeah, you're not gonna get the Deshaun Watson people to trade Deshaun Watson plus. For
I think
Jalen
most
Hurts.
people I think there's a good amount of Deshaun Watson people that just would like scoff at the idea of trading him for Jalen Hurts 1-for-1 right now.
I think it's just a weird spot where everyone's probably dug into their positions. I don't think regardless of a year suspension, 6 games, no suspension, I think everything's just kind of dug in at this point.
Yeah, you're right, dude. The thing is, the Deshaun Watson people, they already dug that trench. They got the hard hat on, right? The mustard gas ain't taking them out. It's gonna take some serious firepower to get them out of these damn trenches.
Joe Herbert's saying,
Joe Herbert?
Hey, Joe Herbert. He's saying if the new charges become criminal, that could void the contract.
I actually did see that on Twitter. Now that he brings it up, I remember.
But the thing is,
the 24th lawsuit is apparently the big one, right?
Are you voiding the contract of the player that you just spent? Was it 3 first-round picks on? How many first?
3 first.
Yeah, that's.
Is this whole scenario just gonna Browns? Is this just gonna be a
That's
Browns?
what it's starting to
very
look
Browns.
like. They alienated Baker. Whatever happens to Watson, Baker doesn't want to be there anymore. So you alienated him. You're not going to get much value for Baker. You just gave up 3 firsts. And now all of this, I don't even know. And if Watson is suspended for the season, how long will it have been, like calendar year wise? Maybe like 2-3 years since he last played.
It would be 2.5, essentially.
2.5. It's a long time.
I think if you're good, you're good. He'll be fine. But it's just that's probably why you don't trade for those kind of players.
Yeah.
But all right, we've talked enough about Deshaun. It's just gonna.
They did their due diligence.
Yeah. It's a wait and see until NFL comes down on it. All right, in holdout talks, Debo showed up to training camp yesterday, I believe. DK Metcalf is still holding out. Is there a legitimate chance that this could go, into preseason, maybe into the regular season? Like, is there any chance of that happening, or do you think
maybe in the preseason? I'd be shocked if it got into the regular season.
No, Seattle has to sign DK. I think that's like one of the pinpoints of their rebuild is that I feel like they're going to try and do what the Broncos did to the Seahawks, where it's like, okay, clearly our roster is not good enough, but we're going to keep on to a good offense so that for whatever quarterback we bring in, whether it's the draft or potentially trade/free agency, let's have the offense nasty so that when whoever comes in, they can get rolling quick.
Right, but I guess my question is obviously the Broncos had Jerry Jeudy, they had Cortland Sutton, they had Noah Fant. I know he went to Seattle in that Russell Wilson trade, but they had KJ Hamler, they have Tim Patrick, they had all these guys already. Now, is Seattle already in too bad of a spot where it's just not worth giving DK this mega million style contract that we've seen wide receivers get this past year? Or is it worth getting 2 firsts for him, whatever it's going to cost on the trade market?
I think if they were going to trade him, the market, like, you would have wanted to trade him already. I think that's the main issue. And they came out and said that DK is like part of their future. They're not trading him. Like earlier in the offseason. Now it is the Seahawks. If there's one team to be fucking weird, it's them. But
yeah, no, it's true.
But you did see what elite wide receivers can do, or very talented wide receivers could do, and why they might actually be worth this money, a la Deebo Samuel. But you just need someone competent to get the ball in DK's hand.
Are y'all buying Deebo in Dynasty? Owner of my league wants a haul. I'm not paying a haul, but hypothetically, what would you give? Superflex 12 team?
Price has gone too far on Deebo.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, we were pretty big on Deebo as a podcast last year, but that price is like tripled?
Yeah, his usage last year was insane. You're just not going to see that kind. You're chasing last year's production, which honestly very easily could be Deebo's best career year. Like, So you're chasing last year's production for a player who's sneakily not that young, has had injuries. Like, you know, I personally, I get
It
if you
depends-
can
it
move from
depends on
Jerry
the
Judy
price.
to Debo. I get if you can move from Jerry Judy to Debo, I probably would. But the top, what you have to give on top of Jerry Judy is definitely like way too much.
I
whatever
think
it
though
is.
it's more worth it to trade for one of those receivers in the Cortland Sutton tier. Like me, I'd rather pay the Sutton price, probably like the Mooney price, one of those types of. You guys might not agree with me, but that back end of like, or like the early 20s receivers all the way down to like the mid 30s. I think that's just a better price. Or if I'm going to pay up, I probably would rather have like a T. Higgins. I'd rather go for a guy like him.
Well, T. Higgins is going to have a higher price than Debo because that was the point I was going to bring up. On Keep Trade Cut right now, Higgins is ahead of Debo. So that was the Debo point I was going to bring up where it's completely
Just
dependent
barely.
on the price. I like Debo at wide receiver 8. It's just you're probably not going to be able to buy
what
him
about
at wide
DK?
receiver 8 pricing. I'd rather have Debo than DK.
I'd
I'd
rather
rather
have
have
DK.
Debo. Yeah, I think I'd rather have DK.
I would also.
That's fair. And DK's what, wide receiver 10? Wide receiver 9. So he's right around Debo. It really does depend on the price because I'm cool with Debo at wide receiver 8 price, but you probably are going to have to pay more than that to get him off someone. And that's where it becomes price dependent for me.
Now, I know you guys are going to disagree with the name I'm bringing up, but I feel like if I had Debo, I would want to sell. I think this is a very realistic deal. I'd want to sell for Mike Williams plus.
Oh,
I think that,
Mike Williams.
I hate.
I know.
It's
The
just a
Mike
very
Williams
random
hater
one.
has turned around and now likes him a
no.
lot.
I don't even hate Mike Williams like that, but I don't know. If I'm flipping Debo, I'm trying to get like, I don't know, maybe like one of those rookie receivers or someone like in like the late teens, maybe Deontay Johnson plus, maybe I don't know.
I think Mike Williams
Devontae
is like the
Smith.
new Tyler Lockett. The guy, yes, he's been consistent, but last year in a new offense, he showed great usage. He's a good deep threat. He is a little bit boomer bust. I understand he had a lot of his production in only a couple of weeks, but to me, I don't really think that's as sticky as people make it out to be. To me, production's production. I don't really care if it came in concentrated a couple weeks or over the season. I think, dude, Mike Williams is a beast. He's in for a big season. I think he could easily be a low-end wide receiver 1. He's priced at like a mid-wide receiver 2.
I think you're
There's
so
just no
close,
way.
Frank. You're so close. But instead of Mike Williams, just say Cortland Sutton. And
Yeah, but I
Even
think Joe
that's- even
Herbert's right. The
Sutton is
Denver
close to
tax
me.
is high. Sutton's price on these rankings
I
to
want-
keep trade cut is not that low.
I'm not really interested in buying.
you think Sutton, because he's like right next to Mike Williams in the rankings. Essentially, they're only separated by like 100 or so keep trade cut points. You think Sutton's that much cheaper?
No, I think
Or,
Sutton's a
that
decent
much
bit
more
more
expensive?
expensive.
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
realistically speaking, you're going to have a harder time getting Sutton than Mike Williams, but it probably is league dependent, manager dependent.
Joe Herbert saying DJ Moore. DJ Moore is a decent amount more expensive.
Yeah.
But I would move from Debo to DJ Moore.
That's the point I was
Definitely.
making. Like the moves I'd be making to move off Debo is going for like a DJ Moore, maybe even like an Elijah Moore.
Drake London.
If
you
you can
definitely-
get like a
you could
Drake London, I
definitely
like
trade Debo
Deontay
for,
Johnson. Like
102, 103 plus.
someone
think
that's the
all in
Debo trade I
all-
like more.
There's so many receivers in that Debo tier that are at the Debo level, if not better investments, that you should just try all of them for whatever. If you're looking to trade for that player, you're trying to do that move, Judy plus for Debo, you might as well gain leverage in offering out trades for all of these guys instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to pigeonhole myself in Debo.
Speaking of Debo, he reported to minicamp today.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
just came back.
Who would have guessed that?
I did not
Just getting
expect him
overblown.
to come to minicamp.
Oh, really?
I thought he'd come back by training camp. And
Yeah, by the time it was, I think this is just OTAs. So I think by the time it was actually mandatory team activities, I think he was going to be there. But surprised he showed up.
might mean an extension's almost done.
I think it probably does mean something's pretty close.
I also mean Trey Lance is a starter. That's because
Well, if you remember, I think part of it was usage
showing up with
stuff.
Jimmy.
So maybe he got some verbal confirmation that he's not going to be in as many carries and things. I don't really. That's complete speculation.
All right. Are we good on the news and notes? We could just move on to
I am good on the news.
our main segments.
Let's do it.
Shaboom. Yeah, if this is not readable, let me know in chat, and I'll increase the size. Do you think we can get rid of the consensus category for now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hide that. Then I can make it a little bit bigger. All right, so like we explained in the beginning, we've got over-unders. I have been waiting for this segment basically all offseason. This is my favorite segment that we do. And this year we have a little bit more information. We also have the keep, trade, cut value as well as where they are in the position rank to give a little bit more clarity on where some of these guys are. Let's just get right into it. We're starting with the quarterbacks. Josh Allen, QB1, 1 point under the maximum value. I mean, like, is there any room to go up? Is there any way someone's saying underrated on this?
Nope. There's my overrated. I still don't think he's better than Mahomes and Justin Herbert. I took Justin Herbert over him in the in our startup draft that we just did. So
yes, I still got Mahomes QB1.
So overrated for me. I get that he's got like more of that rushing touchdown floor, but I don't know, longevity, skills, the point difference isn't enough for me to make Josh Allen that much better than any of those guys.
I mean, realistically, he is a top 3 asset in Dynasty, no matter what way you cut it. So being quarterback 1, being quarterback 2, quarterback 3, it's all the same to me. And I guess it's overrated just because there's nowhere to go up. But he's earned the right to be quarterback 1. He's been the number 1 point getter in fantasy the past 2 years. So he's got his spot. He has the arm. He has the rushing. He has got everything you want in a modern day quarterback.
All right. The first one where I think we might have some controversy, Tua. I said underrated, actually.
Absolutely.
We know where Jake's going with that.
Quarterback 19 is ridiculous.
Yeah, I honestly wish I was because I want to say overrated. I'm not really a huge Tua believer, but
Same,
at this
but QB 19
price,
is a little bit too low for me.
Because I'm trying to see. I mean, damn, that price is pretty darn low. I want to see where some of these other players are around him. Like, should Stephon Diggs and Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill all be like way more expensive than Tua in Superflex? I'm really not sure. I'm going to join you guys. I'll be a consensus car. I'm not necessarily looking to buy Tua, but that price is just so favorable for a potential franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
And the fact that the GM and everyone chose Tua over Brian Flores and all the reports that are coming out of Miami now where it's like the environment seems a lot more friendly for these players. I actually kind of like the way that the Dolphins are headed. They added a ton of weapons. QB19 for Tua, you kind of just... It's hard to say overrated even as a non-Tua believer.
Got exciting weapons around him, too. It's just a...
Yeah. Because if you say overrated, like the next QB after him is Kenny Pickett and then Kirk Cousins. Would you rather have any of those two over Tua?
I always think Kirk's
wouldn't.
underrated, but...
I mean, Kirk is, but we'll get there when we do that.
All right, so I guess our first backup quarterback of the year, Teddy Bridgewater. I'm going to go with an underrated. It's hard to say he's overrated, but I'm also going to go underrated because I'm not really sure that Teddy Bridgewater is completely finished. I could see him Tyrod Tayloring himself into another like quasi-starting job in the future. You know, he's only 29 years old. He's in that journeyman status, so I would not be surprised when a team needs a quarterback, they bring him in as a bridge quarterback. I'm not sure his time is done, so if you can pick him up for pennies on the dollar this year while he's a backup, could pay dividends in the future.
Well,
if you're
there's also a quarterback who's been injured in the past 2 seasons, so I mean, the injury, you're injury prone until you're not, but like there is a chance he could be playing this year too.
True.
On top of that, I mean, he's under 1,000 keep trade cut points right now. That's just absurdly low.
Yeah, it's like a
buy him
fourth.
in our
We couldn't
tomorrow.
even get him in our Dynasty Stunk segment. So it's just too low for a guy that if Tua misses a game here or there, or if he gets a significant injury, obviously knock wood, don't wish an injury on anyone, but like he's a guy that's a capable backup and can prove himself, like JT said, and he's going to be around the league for a while. He's not going anywhere after this season. He'll be backup somewhere else next year, and he'll get his chance one way or another again.
Teddy over Baker. I don't know if that's like in terms of NFL or Dynasty, but I think both answers are
My
Baker.
answers are no to both. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the
I
problem
think
with
the
Baker
point-
is
Much
that
rather
the price
have
tag is
Baker.
much higher in terms of salary cap hit as of right now and draft pick compensation and like basically everything.
Yeah,
I don't think I'd take Teddy. Sorry, JT. I don't think I'd take Teddy over Baker or Jimmy G. Unless you're saying like you'd rather have Teddy and value.
that's the point being made. Is John Smith is saying, well, how is Teddy Bridgewater going to get a starting job with these other quarterbacks who are available?
Oh,
But then
okay. I thought you were saying
Frank's
you'd rather
saying-
have Teddy. Oh no, then I agree with you. Actually, I don't think there are going to be many opportunities,
Well,
especially
I-
with
I
next
think-
year's QB class.
Well,
The
The difference
issue
is
though
that-
is, yeah, Teddy would just be a backstop kind of 1 year starting quarterback. Where I think Baker and Jimmy G, they want to be there for, an actual team's full time role. Like it's like if the Titans drafted Malik Willis in the first round, but they also had, Teddy Bridgewater there to just play the year while Malik Willis learned, while Baker would be the, long term kind of plan for that team. So I get.
I'd be shocked if Teddy Bridgewater entered a team week 1 starter, even if it's only for a few games.
I don't think he'll be ever a week 1 starter again, but like JT said, there's always opportunities that come up throughout the NFL season where someone gets hurt, someone gets cut. Like there's just a whole
I mean,
bunch
he might if like an injury and he's just the backup QB, sure. But like the point being made was like he would be the week 1 starter for a couple weeks and a rookie comes in like Tyrod Taylor. I don't think there's even going to be that scenario for Teddy.
We're gonna have a 24-hour pod though if we spend this much time talking about Teddy Bridgewater as we do the rest of these players. So let's just move on. Mac Jones.
Oh,
I have
sorry.
my quarterback. I'm overrated.
Yeah, he is. He is definitely overrated. I think he's just the
Frank's
guy.
saying
We're all on the same page except Frank, but I think he's overrated. I don't think the New England weapons are that special. I don't think he's that special. I think he's a guy that you're just going to come in and he's going to be a consistent quarterback 2 on your dynasty team for a while, which is valuable in its own right. But to be ranked over other guys that are below him right now, I just don't love it.
Yeah, I just kind of disagree with that because I feel like that's the narrative around Mac Jones. But to me, I see a quarterback that put up great numbers at Alabama, came in, probably had the best rookie quarterback season. I think that the New England offense is just better this year than it was last year. I mean, not that they've added crazy weapons, but all of the players are now in the system again. You have Mac Jones not in a rookie year, and you still have some additions.
I think the big thing of why I go over it, even though, I mean, you guys know I'm not a Tua guy, I think I'd rather have Tua in Dynasty. Or at least it's close to the point where I wouldn't say Mac Jones should be 2 spots ahead of him in the QB rankings.
My issue is the points. Like it seems like his best game is getting you like 20 points. Like his best performance nets you 20. I'm looking at his career. He had three 20-point performances. I mean, they're against Jacksonville and the Jets were 2 of them, and the Titans. It's just, it takes a lot. Like he's just always going to be a milling quarterback too, I think, in my mind. Like
I just feel like I'm getting a young Matt Ryan at a very favorable price.
Oh, I think that's too high. Matt Ryan was an MVP. Do you think Mac Jones could ever reach being a league MVP?
I agree.
I don't see. I think like
that's what Matt Ryan is.
Is that not in the range of outcomes though? Yeah, it's a ceiling outcome.
I don't
it's
think
a ceiling
he's
outcome,
reach that
but
level.
I really think that Mac Jones' upside is incredibly crapped on by the community, and I don't understand why. Other than yes, there's no rushing upside, but that's completely priced in. I think given the rookie season we saw, given his college production, I feel like I'm getting a pretty darn good quarterback at a healthy discount just because he can't run or doesn't run a lot.
Matt Ryan had like 9 top 10 seasons. I don't see that in Mac Jones's. I see a lot of high-end quarterback too.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you like the longevity and everything, but it doesn't excite me. Like, it doesn't. I get it, it's just kind of just your like plug and play quarterback. It's fine at the price he's at, but to me, it's not that appealing in fantasy football. He's not going to win you weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. I just kind of like Mac Jones as an investment. I think for a lot of players around that 40, like if I were to rank him and keep trade cut value, I think I'd have him more around like 5,000 value. Like I would heavily consider trading Tyreek Hill straight up for Mac Jones. All things considered. Now, there's definitely context needed, but I think that there's a pretty darn good chance that I'd rather have Mac Jones than Tyreek Hill.
I'm just kind of low on Tyreek. Well, we'll talk about Tyreek.
That is true.
All right. Let's just move on then. Bailey Zapp, overrated.
It's weird to put an overrated tag on someone that's just so low, but
he strikes me as
I'm gonna go underrated. Give me the underrated.
He just strikes me as a career backup. He's a guy that I feel like is going to be around just because he's a smart guy. But other than that, I don't know.
I don't even want him on my roster. I don't want him on my taxi squad.
I would actually taxi Bailey Zapp, but I'm not necessarily super happy about it. He's nothing to write home about, but Patriots have had some success with lower tier quarterbacks. Like, fuck it, why not? I think if we were to rank all the backups, I think Bailey Zapp is better than a decent amount of them for dynasty value. So I'll go underrated.
All right, now an actual intriguing one, Zach Wilson. Oh, I screwed that up.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with the U's. Big underrated division for me. 5 quarterbacks in the AFC East, apparently.
I'm not the Zach Wilson guy here. I was actually lowest on him coming draft, but I think the Jets have done a good job building around him so far and have kind of given him most reasons not to fail. They've got a solid offensive line around him. They have the weapons. This is a team that now he's in his second year. They kept the consistency with the coaching staff, who is a good coaching staff. So I'm willing to roll the dice on Zach Wilson at this price. Kind of wish he ended up with
I think that's right. No, I'm with you guys on that.
Instead of Garrett Wilson, but
I don't hate Zach Wilson, but I'd rather have Tua. I'd rather have Mac Jones. I think they're safer options, and I just can't put him at QB 16 right now.
Yeah, but see, Zach Wilson, he's someone that can be a very exciting quarterback. Like, he's someone that I think could give me that consistent 20-plus points if he does hit. But that's
I would say, production-wise, I think Zach Wilson's the one that's closer to Matt Ryan in terms of being, having the potential to give you a couple of QB1 seasons. I'd probably take Zach Wilson over Mac Jones. I understand Mac Jones is a safer choice. I just think the ceiling for Wilson is what intrigues me more.
I mean, the ceiling on Tua has to be high as well. If you're talking about weapons and
I was comparing it with Mac Jones. With Tua,
right? But what warrants was Zach Wilson being 3 spots ahead of Tua? Absolutely nothing, in my opinion. I think they're pretty similar right now, where they both need to prove what's going on and both need to show we have the weapons now. We have no excuse. This is who we are as a quarterback, and I think there's just no reason.
I think that's fair. I do think Zach Wilson is a little bit more naturally talented. But I understand.
There was no tank for Zach Wilson. There was a saying, "Tank for Tua." The guy is one of the most talented college quarterbacks we've seen. I understand he hasn't shown that in the NFL yet.
I think Zach Wilson's more talented. I think he could throw a better football, and he's faster.
All right.
I understand your Tua case. I just think Zach Wilson's the more talented QB. If you want to talk about pre-college stuff, Wilson was a higher overall draft pick.
Okay, that was because he didn't have Trevor Lawrence as good. Or that's because he did it.
Yeah, Joe Burrow.
I'm getting good.
Didn't have Joe Burrow.
Yeah, thank you. There you go.
All right, moving on.
And he wasn't coming off a major injury, but there we go.
The injury part's fair.
Mike White, he's another guy. He had his good couple games. I don't really care about him though. Don't
He
want
has
him
no
on my
business
roster.
being ranked.
Y'all doing my guy dirty. It's the king of New York.
It's underrated.
Yeah, I think the problem is he like there's a good chance he's not even the backup quarterback on this team.
Yeah, it could be
Still
Joe
in the
Flacco.
spot.
Joe Flacco is just not available on Keep Trade Cut. That's why he's not listed here. But I
So
think it's probably Joe Flacco
Who
too.
beat out Fluco?
yeah, I
Fuka.
just like Mike White is I think the only quarterback in this division that is to me clearly not worth a roster spot.
I
Wow,
don't know if
he's
I'd take him
him
over
and Josh
Bailey.
Allen. Only two you have overrated. Basically the
some
same
similarities.
quarterback, if you ask.
Tear their own.
All right, moving on to the running backs. This one, I wholeheartedly, every fiber in my body, am saying overrated for James Cook, running back 26. I don't
Yeah.
know if he's the starting running back on this team. I don't know if he's the second running back on this team. And we have him as running back 26. I mean, even with Josh Allen there, like I don't even know if he's the third running back on this team. So
The thing for me is just more so I don't hate James Cook. It's just he's over some guys that I'd rather have over him. Like I'd rather have Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, CEH, Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris, Damian Pierce. Like that's just a couple of names right there that are beneath him in the running back rankings. And I would take a majority of those guys over James Cook. Even though I'm not as low on him as some others.
Yeah, I agree. James Cook overrated. I think we've said this enough on the pod, but
Yeah.
like long story short, a lot of the reasons you guys said, I don't necessarily hate James Cook, but dude, 3,700 RB 26, like the fact that I can reasonably trade. I mean, him and someone like AJ Dillon and what's his name, the
Aaron
other
Jones.
guy on the Packers.
Aaron Jones.
are like pretty darn similarly priced to James Cook, and I'd easily rather have those two backs, and
Yeah.
basically every other back.
well, it's like chasing the wide receiver 2 on the Packers or wide receiver 2 on the Chiefs. It's just you're chasing that Buffalo Bills running back, and you're just not going to get the production at the price that they are.
Yeah, I think part of the reason I think James Cook is overrated is because I think my guy Devin Singletary is underrated.
I'm with you on that one, Frank.
I'm not necessarily going out and buying tons of Devin Singletary in my leagues, but I think I'm going to start testing the waters a little bit simply because I think Devin Singletary was one of the most underrated runners in football last year. I mean, the guy broke a ton of tackles. The guy executed the run game pretty darn well. The only big issue is that he got 50 targets the past 2 seasons. Now with James Cook in the picture, I mean, they drafted him to be a receiving back, and I
He's
think that
gonna be
James
the
Cook
third
is a
down back.
better receiving back.
For sure.
Now we have a situation where I need Devin Singletary to be my Antonio Gibson, and I don't think he's going to be. So,
No.
like, I don't know. Now I might have just talked myself into thinking he's overrated.
I have both of them overrated.
Overrated. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
He's a committee
switching.
back.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
switching.
he's a committee back who's ranked running back 39, and he's not the lead.
Running back 39 is not very high. That's what I'm saying.
even if he's the
I
lead
think
running back.
JK's right there. I think it's a bait price. Now that I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it,
Thank you.
I think it's a
Yeah,
bait price.
Lone Wolf Jake. Jake's the Lone Wolf here.
That's fine. I'll take Devin Singletary if it costs me nothing, which it seems
You can
like it
have
will.
him. I mean, 25.83 isn't nothing though. Is the thing.
I mean,
it's
that's
not.
what, a late
That's
third?
like a second. That's a second.
Is it?
Yeah.
Late second.
I think Jalen Tolbert is like 2,600. He's like same thing with Wandale. They're like consistent mid, late, somewhere around the second.
Mhm.
You guys want to do Zach
Alright.
Moss now?
Zach
RB
Moss.
78.
Moss, give me an O.
Overrated Zach Moss.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on overrated.
I don't know what Zach Moss really gives me.
I mean, the thing for me, ultimate telling thing of what his coaching staff thinks of him, they don't have a good backfield last season, and there were multiple games where he was a healthy scratch. And it's not like they have that great running. It's Singletary, and so that tells you, or at least that tells me all I need to know about him.
I mean, yeah, he's like a Benny Snell. I mean, he can be good if like he's one of those running backs that okay, if we really needed to, we can give this guy 20 carries and he'll be all right. But we're never going to do that with any sort of consistency on the NFL level. So, I just don't really want him. And I mean, I guess now if you have him, you kind of have to hold because the price is so low.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Duke Johnson, I have underrated.
Same.
Because I think he actually serves a purpose on this team and is currently running back 118.
He shouldn't be 40 spots below Zach Moss. That's
Yeah, I think that the attractive thing about Duke Johnson is that with an injury to Devin Singletary, let's X him out of the picture. All of a sudden, he's got a fighter's chance of being relevant in fantasy.
Or I think even an injury to
right.
Cook.
Even if it's,
I think he'd take over the third down back role.
I think he becomes the receiving back role in that situation as well. So I think any injury in this backfield, he definitely becomes a strong player for touches here.
Yeah, it's like he might. I don't necessarily know, but I feel like him and Zach Moss, Duke Johnson and Zach Moss, have a pretty darn similar outlook on having relevancy in this backfield. And you get Duke Johnson at a free agent price.
Yeah.
And Zach Moss is probably rostered, so I have to give up some sort of asset to get him. Yeah, give me Duke Johnson.
All right. Now moving on to the Dolphins, we got Chase Edmonds. Originally, I want to say overrated, but just running back 37 for who I believe will be the lead back for the Dolphins. Like, sure, I think he's giving you like running back 23, 24 kind of season. Like, I think that's what you're getting from Chase Edmonds. But at the running back 37 price, I'll take it. So I'll say underrated.
I think Chase Edmonds does get the first crack at the running back one in this backfield, but it's just such a stacked backfield. As you see, there's 5 guys ranked on Keep Trade Cut. All of them have had some success to some extent in the NFL here. We've seen Johnny Michel with the Patriots and the Rams last season, Mostert with the Niners, Gaskin with the Dolphins themselves, and Ahmed with the Dolphins themselves. All have had really some semblance of success. So I just think this backfield is going to be ride the hot hand no matter what happens, and it's just something that's going to kill fantasy owners from day one of the season.
You make good points, but I think the issue is where I think James Conner is better than all the 3 running backs that you just mentioned. And with Chase Edmonds, he was still able to put up, like flex-worthy plays each time.
Right. And that's the thing, though, is I'm fine if this was a 2-headed backfield with, Ahmed being the third. But you have 5 guys here that realistically all should get some touches. Not a lot, but like
one's a 30-something-year-old running back coming off, what was it, broken leg, torn ACL?
I was going to say, how often do you think all of those guys are going to be healthy?
Realistically, I think the training camp cuts are going to be a big telling factor of this backfield, because I don't think they're going to go into the season with all of these. And until I know who gets cut, I don't think it's going to be Edmonds. I think they just gave him the big money, so I think he's safe.
I think
the other 4.
Michelle, Mostert, Gaskin.
The two I'm locking in, I think, are Edmonds and Gaskin. And then
I'm not locking in Gaskin.
No, I think because he doesn't make any money. The other 2 actually got paid.
I think Ahmed is the cut here. If we're keeping 4 backs,
are they going to keep 4 though? Don't teams?
Well, you can roster 3, practice squad 1. Like, there's all this bullshit. Okay. But then, like, he could get signed. I don't know, that's a whole different topic. But
yeah,
I think I can see why people like Chase Edmonds as a buy and could see him being underrated. But I agree with Jake, and my problem is that I think there's a very realistic argument that Chase Edmonds is the 3rd most talented running back in this running back room, which is why I don't want to invest in him at the $2,600 price. But he definitely has some serious upside.
No, it's fair.
The upside's there. This offense should be good. They bolstered the offensive line. They brought in Tyreek Hill, Tua, and a new offensive-friendly head coach. Like, there's a whole bunch of reasons to think this offense is going to be significantly better. But with that being said,
the
this
way
backfield
I
is just
look at
too
it
crowded.
is if you're able to pull out your crystal ball, your magic 8-ball, right? Give it a couple shakes, shake, and you can figure out which one of these freaking running backs is going to be productive. There is huge arbitrage value for a contender in this backfield. You know, we're getting a guy under the Shanahan tree. I personally think it's going to be Raheem Mostert, who's the guy to own initially in this backfield and is the most talented, but who freaking knows? But nonetheless, like, I mean, if you have conviction, or maybe you go to the Dolphins training camps and see something, or you shake the ball, I don't know, you figure it out. Like, this is a really good opportunity to get like really cheap points.
Yeah. Sonny Michel, I don't see him being the guy on this team.
Nope.
Same.
I don't either.
I kind of just explained his shake the ball method. Although I just don't. I'm not even sure he's on the team when the season starts. Raheem Mostert, same thing. I don't see him
Underrated.
being it.
I'm with
I
Frank
guess I'm a
here.
lone wolf.
I think Mostert's the guy to own. He's played with McDaniels before.
Mm-hmm.
I think as long as he's healthy, he might be the back to own in this offense.
If he's healthy, he's the best pure runner on the team.
It's a big if.
Obviously,
It is a big if.
Hasn't stayed healthy in 3 years, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Sony Michel and Raheem Mostert are just like the little running backs that could. They just keep going.
Mm-hmm.
They keep finding ways to stay relevant. And I'm not sure that's going to stop here in Miami. I think that the little running backs that could still got a little bit of juice left in the tank. So like, dude,
can we get that on a shirt, Frank?
the little running back that could. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about guys that I don't think you could pick them up for a fourth. I think dynasty managers realize that they're worth more than a fourth. But you could scam your way into getting these guys for essentially free with some weird swaps on and back ends of drafts and trade downs and things of that nature. So if you need a running back, I personally might look at Sonny Michel and Raheem Mostert and start collecting a slew of little running backs that could.
I like it.
You like that one.
Hammer it home. All right. Myles Gaskin, I think he's the back tone. I think he's the second back here.
You've seen him. He's done
Yeah.
nothing.
No, that's not true. Every other week he did nothing. But in those other weeks, he did do something. It was a Myles Gaskin. I torched Fabiano in my stardom situms, saying to start Myles Gaskin every week that he was good and sit him every week that he was bad. It was just I flip-flop back and forth, and it ended up being very good for my overall total points. It was just every other week he'd give us something. Look, he's come a real way from being worth, like he was worth, people were saying an early second last year that you should trade for Myles Gaskin. He's dropped a heck of a lot from that, and I think he still has a chance of being. I think he knows the system. I think he will be on this team, and while he might be behind Chase Edmonds, I think he'll be that second running back who will at least like give you some flex-worthy weeks.
So I think he was slightly underrated at 75 if I had to pick one, because I think 75 isn't a bad ranking for him. The thing that concerns me is they've had Gaskin under the roster for super cheap, and Edmonds, who kind of has some similar skill sets, they went out to sign and give a contract to. So what does that tell you about how Miami views Gaskin?
I think they're just looking for any weapon.
That's my issue with Gaskin right now, is that I think that Gaskin's a good player. I liked him coming out of Washington a couple of years ago, but his role from Washington now into the NFL has changed so much. And we're a couple seasons into his career, and he hasn't really established himself as the guy of that role in the offense, more that pass catching back. I'm not sure at this point we're gonna see it. That's my issue. And yeah, he's priced at RB75, but if we're looking at the keep trade cut value, I mean, he's basically the same price as Sonny Michel and Raheem Mostert. I just think that he's not worth that. I don't want to invest in him. Like, I just think he's closer to a guy that I don't want on my roster than he is a fantasy relevant running back.
Well, I'll tell you a guy I don't want on my roster. That's Salvin Ahmed. I don't even think he makes the team.
Yeah, we're talking about like who gets cut. I think it's Ahmed.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
All right, moving on to the Patriots. Just a backfield that is made out of nightmares. Damian Harris. Is overrated. He's the lead Patriot back for this team, or at least that's what people think. And to me, that's always a bait. Just gotta make him overrated.
Can he be overrated and underrated at the same time?
Yeah, I
think he really can. He's a strange one.
I can kind of understand where.
You guys all think? Sorry, I just got back. You guys all think that Damian Harris is overrated at RB?
Okay, let me explain myself. I think
I want to
at
give you guys
face value, this current price is slightly overrated because I really don't think he has a ton of upside. But at the same time, if we were to lower this price by like a very slight margin, like we're literally talking about dropping him like 2 or 3 running back spots, instantly I'd flip him to very underrated.
Like just to go to the next guy, he is 400 points ahead of running back 36 Ramondre Stevenson when they could very well have the same exact season.
I think Damian Harris is a little bit better. I don't think he's like severely underrated. I think 32 is a fair ranking, but I'd lean underrated before overrated.
Dude, the thing is that Damian Harris is the kind of player that Belichick goes home and just dreams about at night. He's like, yes, dude, I want as many Damian Harrises as I can collect. Like
that's what he did. That's what he did in the draft. That's exactly what he did.
It's always the case with the Patriots. This is always going to be a very annoying backfield where last year was probably the closest we've seen to some kind of semblance of Damian Harris was the lead guy for a decent amount.
Really good season last year. I don't even, like he had 4.6 yards a carry, 930 rushing yards, 15 touchdowns. He had a good season.
Yeah, but all it took was one fumble for him to be irrelevant for like 3 weeks.
Belichick does that to everyone now.
LeGarrette Blount had like 20
That's the point.
with the Patriots. These running backs are replaceable to him.
Yeah, but I think that's like we're literally talking about why Damian Harris is good, but at the same time, why he's good is why he's bad. Like, okay, yeah, I think in terms he can easily repeat the season he did last year. Everyone's going to be screaming touchdown regression, but I think there's a pretty darn good chance if he gets the same amount of usage he did last year that he's putting up over 10 tutties. But the dude isn't going to catch a pass. He'll be lucky to catch 5, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to be a consistent back every week. You know, this is a team that if there's a scheme matchup for Ramondre Stevenson or even freaking Kevin Harris or James White, they will abuse that. And all of a sudden, you're going to see a guy that can go from 25 carries one week to 3 carries the next, if that. So the lack of consistency and the lack of passing game and the fact that you kind of have a touchdown-dependent running back that I think can get the touchdowns, there's no upside here. Like, there's zero upside, but there's super high floor.
I will say, Frank, what you just said about complaining about the consistency seems kind of interesting after the Mike Williams comments to start the pod.
Oh, Lou's trying to put you in a corner here.
Completely different.
Boomer bust weeks, but I'm looking at. I was told to look at the total.
Completely. Okay, yeah. Look at the total. The guy's still an RB2.
Yeah,
you know, we're not talking about a guy that put up 1,200 yards.
He's being ranked as a what? RB3. RB32.
Yeah, a high-end RB3.
No, it's a low-end RB3.
A low-end RB3.
Yeah. A middle-of-the-pack RB3.
Middle-of-the-pack RB3.
All right, whatever. Damian Harris, he's split. I feel like we're going to be split on this one, too. I haven't even looked.
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson.
Well, me thinking Damian Harris is underrated is because of how I view Ramondre. I think he's a little bit overrated.
Oh, across the board.
You guys all think he's overrated.
All right. Again, just Patriot backfield. I don't want it.
Yep.
And these two are ranked as high and
Frank exposed
starting running backs.
We're comparing. Yeah, exactly. I'm exposed, right? Mike Williams, total wide receiver 1 last year. Ramondre Stevenson, still like a low end RB2, RB3, or Damien Harris. Yeah, I think I like both of these players as football players, and I think they're both good prospects, Damien Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. But fuck, I don't want to give up assets to get these guys right now at these prices. I like Ramondre Stevenson. I like buying him for thirds. He was worth a measly third. Yeah, I'll go draft him with all my thirds. But now I got to give up more than that. Now I got to give up a second, potentially even more than a second. I don't want to do that.
Agreed. Next guy, if we did how we did last year, we could say most overrated. That's Pierre Strong right here. I don't know what his role in this offense is going to be. Oh, someone disagreed. Lounis disagrees.
No. I accidentally put underrated. I meant to put overrated.
I don't think Pierre Strong.
What have I been afraid to disagree with the rest of the pod?
20-something points this year, and he's running back 57. So
see, the thing that I hate is that we're talking about a team that is just obsessed with running the ball. It seems like, and we're saying that all the running backs are overrated. I don't like that.
There are two I think are underrated.
Yeah, as of right now, these top three all ranked pretty high for what their ceiling could be. Like, especially Pierre Strong. He's going to be irrelevant. Like,
he's going to be a special teams player. Let's be honest.
He is.
He's going to, maybe he scores a touchdown or maybe two this season. Like, if he's really
Pierre
lucky.
Strong could replace James White. That's just not happening. Sorry,
No, Pierre Strong is not replacing James White, which we'll get to in a second.
I think I actually kind of like Pierre Strong in terms of his potential upside and just potential in general, but is he going to feasibly reach that, and how quickly could he reach that? I just don't think he's going to do that this year. So that's what I'm looking for in a guy like a Pierre Strong. I want him to, as a rookie back, come in, have a couple of really good weeks so I can just sell him off for more. I'm not sure I'm getting that out of Pierre Strong. And I don't think he's a player that I'm willing to invest in long-term, given the profile, the film. Yeah, he's got a couple things that you like, but I think when push comes to shove, I'd rather have the market price than Pierre Strong now. And I think I don't want to invest him long-term either.
He's ranked above Chase Edmonds. Sony Michel, Raheem Mostert, Myles Gaskin, and at least one of those guys is definitely I will bet so much on it going to outscore. At least one of those three Dolphins running backs will definitely outscore Pierre Strong.
At least two.
Yeah, maybe
if
two.
not all three.
So yeah, at that point, no, thank you to Pierre Strong. Kevin Harris, same thing, just overrated.
The chonk, Kevin Harris, the chonk out of South Carolina.
No, I'm just not a fan. I keep screwing this up.
I'm pretty sure he's got one knee. I know he had a big leg injury at South Carolina at one point. He was pretty productive, but I just don't see it.
All right, and now here's the one where I finally break the mold.
I'm going to agree here, except
James White, underrated. RB91
too low.
Yeah, we got Mac Jones was a pass catching running back who's running back 91.
I know he's essentially free. I know he's a 30-year-old running back, and I know he was hurt last year, but he seems to be Bill Belichick's safety net here.
You know who else is a 30-year-old running back? Jake, you know who else was a 30-year-old running back who caught a lot of passes, who was battling injuries his entire career? Cordell Patterson. Now, is he going to be Cordell Patterson? No, he's not going to get you that many points. But running back, what is he, 90-something? I'm looking at a different screen. Running back 91.
It'll cost you maybe a fourth.
Yeah, he's going to be a very viable flex play. So he's the only
problem I have is I don't think you will be able to buy James White at this running back 91 price. I do think people are going to put some value just because he is who he is. He's been around forever. He's been productive forever, and everyone knows that. And now I understand the age and the injuries, and Tom Brady's not there. but still, people are going to say
91 is crazy.
I think you could get him for a fourth.
I would easily trade Kevin Harris for James White straight up. And
I mean,
And
yeah, but I don't think you'll do.
I think in your
that.
rookie draft, when there are players like JT saying, some of these back end running backs, that seem to have a lot more flashiness, and James White is there because of the recency bias, and how like he was just useless last year.
He was hurt.
Well, he also, I mean, he had like that whole thing with his family and the car accident thing.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate for him, but yeah, I just think that the recency bias for a lot of managers and the fact that he wasn't productive left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. So I think on the clock in a rookie draft, if you're giving up a 405 and there's a halfway decent, like a Justin Ross available, right? Like, I think there's plenty of dynasty people that would easily do that trade and think they came out like a bandit.
All right, last Patriots running back, JJ Taylor. Overrated.
Lonis. Explain
Coach
yourself.
Hood will cut White this year. Joe Herbert's saying that James White's getting cut.
There's
No
no way
shot.
he's getting cut.
No shot. He just does too much for this team to get cut. Lewis is muted. I don't know if he's.
Lonis, you're muted.
Yeah, you saw that.
My
Mo.
fault.
It's been a while since we had one of those.
Yeah, my fault. So with JJ Taylor being 101, also just I think when you talk about like, oh, who's like gonna fill in for that James White role, I think JJ Taylor, for his value versus where Kevin Harris and Pierre Strong were, I kind of like him more because he's less than half of those guys' prices.
AJ Taylor is a special teams player.
I think Kevin Harris is a special teams player, and he's less
Sure, I
than half
don't
his price.
disagree.
Yeah, I would just say they're all overrated.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. No, I get that.
All right.
honestly,
Lunis is
yes.
just JJ Taylor's underrated because JJ Taylor's probably another dude who's like, yeah, I'm not that short. You know, I'm low-key tall. And that's a Lunis move. Lunis is like, yeah, dude, I'm low-key tall.
Wow. Good roast.
Taller than half the podcast, but all right.
That's just me and Frank.
Yeah,
That's not saying
the
much.
bar's not
Half the
set very
podcast.
high there.
I'm number 2.
I'm like a giant on this podcast. All right. Moving on. Breece Hall, Jets running back. I actually said underrated, if I could pull it up here. Oh, okay. Only Jake said overrated. So I guess, Jake, you could defend your claim here.
Listen, I love Breece Hall. He's the hands down 101 in all rookie drafts, no matter the format. Don't get me wrong. But to be ranked running back 5 before ever taking a snap in the NFL is a large statement. Obviously, I know we're kind of going through this flux of weird running backs because we have the older running backs of Kamara and Eckler and Mixon and Cook and all these guys that have been our top running backs are getting up there in age. And I understand Breece Hall is a flashy new name to put up there, and he has all the traits you want to be this stud running back. And I think he probably gets there. But to rank him running back 5 before taking a snap is just too much for me.
How does it make you feel that I have Bijan Robinson ranked running back 2, and he's still not even drafted yet? I don't even know what team he's on. And I'd still trade like basically any running
He might
back.
be RB1.
I can't really put him over Taylor right now, but
That's a lot.
Bijan Robinson running back 2. I just think Breece Hall is very good. He's young.
Yeah, he is very good. And he's young,
It's
but
just
don't
hard
have
for me
to
to
overthink
find.
this.
It's hard for me to find like 7 running backs I'm taking over him right now. Like if I was starting
I
a
think
team.
Breece Hall's a freaking stud. And it's not that he's hugely underrated. It's just he's attainable.
Yeah.
You could get Breece Hall if you want to.
Yeah.
And like in startup drafts, it's not like the dude's a first round pick. He's still going behind Javonte. I think that I love Javonte. Javonte might be more talented than Breece Hall, but I think there's a very good chance that Breece Hall is more productive than Javonte next year. And then in turn, more valuable come startup drafts and value next year.
Well, I'm I'm much more worried about Melvin Gordon than I am Michael Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was gonna kind of come into this. Okay. Of course, Jake is going underrated on Michael Carter. I was gonna say, I feel like there's gonna be a lot of O's coming in here with a lot of these other backs. If anyone's got a U, go ahead and say it now, because I've got everyone with overrated tag outside of Breece Hall. I don't want any of these guys.
Well, all right. I think the only one I had as underrated was Tevin Coleman, and I just think it's because he makes the team. Where I think LaMichael Pirine and Zenobia Knight, I don't think make the team.
See, that's my difference. I think LaMichael Pirine makes the team and Coleman doesn't. So I got Pirine as the underrated at 123, and Coleman I want no part of.
All right. Well, with that being said, I have overrated on everyone beyond Michael Carter here. But the reason I have Michael Carter as underrated is because I think it's gone too far, if that makes sense. Just because, like, obviously his ranking, rightfully so, has dropped significantly since the Breece Hall selection. But he was a very productive back last year and a not very good offense that Zach Wilson missed time in, and this team wasn't great. So now I understand, like, Breece Hall is going to take the majority of the carries, but he's going to play a factor. People are acting like he's just going to disappear. He's going to be there. He's going to probably get 7 to 10 carries a game, I would say, at least to start the season. And if he doesn't prove himself worthy of those 10 carries, then it'll go down. But I don't think you're going to get Breece Hall coming in here and they're just going to expect him to do this massive, 25 carries a game role. That's just
I don't
not
know,
happen.
dude. I see Breece Hall. Breece Hall's the hot chick. You know,
They spend high capital on
and
him.
at the end of the day, when the hot chick rolls up to the bar, she's the one getting the attention from all the guys. Michael Carter, the fat chick.
Okay.
How much usage are you giving the fat chick? How much?
Okay.
How much? Fat chick, okay, yeah. When 2 a.m. rolls around, closing time. Okay, yeah, the fat chick gets a little bit of usage once the hot chick's already left. But sorry,
This
I'm
analogy
gonna
is
say
nuts.
that the fat chick's underrated. No way! At this price, come on. We're still paying seconds. Why?
I'm good off Michael Carter. I don't hate him.
He's going to be obsolete.
I don't think you have to pay a second for him, but that's just me. I know that's what he's valued at right now, but I think you can get him.
It feels like the Jonathan Taylor Marlon Mack thing.
No, it doesn't.
I agree. I mean, I think that Michael Carter's more talented than Marlon Mack, but
Marlon
if you
Mack
spend in the early
was a veteran
second,
by that point.
Marlon Mack was like 24, 25. He only had
Marlon
like
Mack was like
seasons.
in his third or fourth season. Now Michael Carter's in his second. It's a little different, but I do think Breece Hall will be the big back. But I think Michael Carter's a guy you can put in your flex and you won't hate yourself. Put it that way.
no, I'd hate myself.
No.
I would hate myself if Michael Carter is in my flex.
Get that solid
If Breece Hall is playing
3.5 points.
bad metaphor, damn it. I thought Joe Herbert would like that one. Yeah, I would hate myself if Michael Carter was in my flex if Breece Hall is playing.
Are we going to move on to tight ends?
Yeah.
Hells yeah.
All right. So I think kicking it off right off the bat, I think if we were doing the same thing as we were last year, Dawson Knox immediately most overrated.
Absolutely.
Tight end 10. Now I get there's probably not a whole lot of difference between. You could see like tight end 10, tight end 12 is basically 200 points. Tight end 10 to 19 is only 1,200.
Especially when you compare them to, we'll get to some of the other ones on the list, but like where Hunter Henry, Jonnu, Gesicki all are.
Yeah, I just think Hunter Henry's better. Like, I would rather Hunter Henry. So it's just the Josh Allen kind of fallacy of, he's going to be catching touchdowns from Josh Allen. Gotta get him on my team. Where I think the addition of O.J. Howard is going to hurt him more than people have accounted for. I think O.J. Howard is a solid player, which brings me to him being underrated.
Yeah,
Underrated.
that scares me a little bit.
I don't know why, but why there? But
I think that was me. Sorry. Yeah, in addition to OJ Howard scares me for Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox's historical target share scare. I like Dawson Knox. I think he's a good player, but we're now reaching the point where there are some damn good tight ends that he's ranked around. And how much better realistically is Dawson Knox as a player and going to be this year than someone like Robert Tonyan? This is one of those scenarios where, like, I like Robert Tonyan. I think he's a good player. I also like Dawson Knox. I think he's a good player, but I'm not going to make the same mistake twice and be paying low tight end, like more like tight end 2 prices, but I guess like over a second valuation for a player that's just probably not worth that in the long run.
Yeah. It's just, he's young. He's good. Like, he had a good season, but he's not going to be anything special, and I think he's just going to kind of fade away. All right, the other tight end, well, fall from grace, Jalen Werdemeyer. He was going to be like tight end 1 this class. He's tight end 50 overall on Keep Trade Cut, and I still have him as overrated, which is kind of crazy, I think. But
I don't think he's making the roster. We're being real. He's trash.
Fall from grace or Jalen Werdemeyer? Sorry. Mike Gesicki, he was a tough one. I wasn't sure whether to say underrated or overrated. I ended up falling on the overrated kind of side because I think with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle there, I just think automatically he's going to be third on this team in terms of targets, and I'm not that interested in that anymore. So at the price of where he's at tight end 12, I think he's overrated. I'm the lone wolf on this one. But
for me, it's just hard to find 12 tight ends I'd rather have over Gesicki in Dynasty.
Well, again, I think I'd rather just have Hunter Henry, who's tight end 19. So
I think part of the reason why I'm going to go with it, because I'm very torn on this one, is I think that the price tag for Gesicki is maybe even a little bit lower than what this is saying. And I think if you look at his profile, if you were to just take all the context of his situation out of the picture and just look at his profile as a prospect and the stats that he's put up, you're going to like Mike Gesicki a lot more than he's rated.
John Smith is saying that he's going to take that Kittle role from the Niners offense, and I don't think he will.
I like Gesicki, but no, not
I like Gesicki, but he's not going to be the feature receiver in this offense.
The 49ers, they're going to be using Tyreek and Waddle. Yeah.
But I think it's worth potentially investing in Gesicki this offseason because of the Waddle Tyreek Hill discount. Everyone's thinking that Gesicki's target share is going to massively decrease when it's not necessarily guaranteed.
I agree. I don't think he really takes a target share decrease here. I think that he just, is going to get his, and he's going to work over the middle while the other two work on the outside, and that's what the offense is going to look like.
All right.
Hunter Long, we're all overrated. Hunter Long, yeah, not much to say there.
Hunter Henry, I kind of alluded to in the past. I'd rather have him. He's my top tight end in this division, but he is currently ranked as the third tight end in this division. So I got him underrated.
I guess the question is, are you scared about the potential dependency on touchdowns for Hunter Henry?
No.
Should be.
He's just a tall monster in the red zone. I think he's still going to see that kind of that's where he's going to get his bread and butter for the most part. I mean, it's what keeps him from being out of the wasteland, like a waste lord, if you will, Frank, like how you like to say.
He's definitely in the wasteland, but he is.
Yeah. It's not what separate like his touchdown dependency is what kind of keeps him stuck there. But I think he's just going to keep that touchdown. Like I don't see a big regression coming for him.
I kind of like Hunter Henry. I had to start him in one of my leagues last year, and he was pretty decent. Like, I think compared to a lot of other waste lord level tight ends, I'm much more comfortable starting Hunter Henry than a lot of those other guys.
That's fair.
I'd agree. I think he's underrated at tight end 19. I can't go as far as I like him most in the division because I still like Gesicki more, but at tight end 19, he's definitely underrated.
All right, and then last team, Johnny Smith. split here. I can't pull up mine for some reason.
You know,
Let's see.
I like Jonnu Smith. I like the idea of Jonnu Smith. I think that his usage could increase a little bit this year. But I just don't envision a world where I'm starting Jonnu Smith or I'm happy about it. You know, I just don't.
Yeah, but I mean, what tight end 30 are you starting?
Yeah, but how many years are we gonna wait and talk about the athletic ability of Jonnu Smith and get just kicked in the shin over and over and over? This is the table at IKEA that I keep freaking stubbing my toe on. I'm done. I don't want it.
I agree with most of those statements in general. If he's like tight end like 50, he's tight end 31. I cannot find 31 other tight ends I'd rather have in Dynasty than Jonnu Smith that are in the league right now. That's more so my case for the underrated. Because I agree with everything you're saying, but tight end 31, it's a tight end.
He's just not going to be the guy. Like, he's never going to be the guy. He wasn't the guy when there was very limited opposition on the Titans. Now it's been proven he's the second tight end on this Patriots offense. So I don't see, like, barring an injury to Hunter Henry, and even that, I'm not sure how much his like actual usage will go up. I don't know. I really like Jonnu Smith, but in the past, but it's just how many times am I going to get burnt?
They should just make him a receiver, honestly.
Yeah.
But
switch him in N'Keal Harry.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, moving on then to the Jets. I almost put these all as overrated. Gonna be honest. CJ Uzomah,
he's my only underrated. 35 is pretty low.
I don't even know if he's the starter for this team.
Because tight end 35, do you even roster in a league the 35th best fantasy tight end? Like, that's near almost waiver price. Like, he's almost down under the 1,000 threshold.
I think any player over 1,000 is typically rostered. I would assume all three of these guys are going to be on the team.
Most of these guys are rostered. Honestly, I don't necessarily love this, but I'm going to go with underrated for all of them. From what I saw from the Jets offense last year, they went with a good amount of two tight end sets. And what was that tight end guy? What was that guy they had last year? I think he used to play on the Bengals. No, I'm getting confused.
What are you saying?
I can't remember their tight end last year's name. I feel like he had I don't have the numbers, but when I watched the Jets,
Tyler Kroft. You're talking about Tyler Kroft.
Yeah, maybe.
Why is Drew Sample coming in my head?
I felt like the tight end spot in general for the Jets got a lot more usage than it was kind of given credit for, and I felt like they got some targets. I don't see why that would necessarily change. Now, I think the problem is that going to be tangible, or is it just going to be a bunch of waste lords? My gut is saying waste lords, but at these prices,
they cost you nothing.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily, other than Jeremy Ruckert in the back end of drafts, which has been one of my favorite late round taxi squad stash types of guys. I'm not going out and buying these dudes, but I could definitely envision a world where CJ Uzomah has a very similar year to last year where he was relevant.
Ryan Griffin and Tyler Kroft combined for 67 targets last year from the tight end position.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't a lot. Yeah, I just think it's worth investing in these guys. Like, let me put it like, I feel like I'd rather invest in these guys than I would Jonnu Smith.
Yeah,
I don't know about that one.
I don't. So Joe Herbert's saying Uzomah had a couple big games last year.
Uzomah's the only one I kind of like.
You're going from Joe Burrow to Zach Wilson. You're going from, an injured T. Higgins to, you're behind Corey Davis, Elijah Moore. I don't know why I said Corey Davis first, but Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and Garrett Wilson.
He was behind three receivers last year too, and Mixon in the passing game.
Yeah, but T. Higgins was hurt. I think Tyler Boyd was also hurt for a little bit.
Not for that long though.
Joe Burrow also passed for way more than what I think Zach Wilson will do. So
that part's true.
Yeah, I'm struggling to see how any of these guys are relevant outside of Jeremy Ruckert for the long-term value. So maybe I might switch to overrated. I don't know. I feel like Uzama has some upside, so I'll keep him as underrated for now. I don't.
My thing is just like, who is he a better receiving option than Corey Davis, Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore? I don't think so.
No, but again, we're doing this.
Will he get a share of that passing? Like that's what I'm saying. Like he's not going to be relevant.
No, I agree, but I think we're looking too much at just how we think about the player overall. Like tight end 35 is really fucking low. It's
still 1,000 points that I think I'd rather have somewhere else.
Okay.
Like I'd rather have a different player than CJ Uzoma.
Let's move on to the wide receivers then. Though we're gonna spend a while here, I'm sure. So
wide receivers. I wanted to say underrated for Stephon Diggs, but he is an old.
I think he's very correctly priced, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if I could have done the C, I probably would have. I'm just gonna give him the O for overrated. But
I agree with that.
I think there's a legitimate chance that he could be the wide receiver 1 this year, and I don't think people are really considering it that much for where he's currently ranked. Being behind someone like Cooper Kupp is kind of, that leads me to want to say underrated. But again, it's just an older wide receiver who's still ranked very high. Makes me hesitant to put the underrated.
Yeah, I think that's my issue is that if I'm going to take a bet on if his price is going to be higher or lower next year, I think it's a very good chance it's lower next year. But that doesn't mean that Stephon Diggs can't be a good buy, be correctly priced, and be a good receiver next year.
Yeah. This one I think is probably where we get the most heated debate. Gabriel Davis. I just think he's overrated.
I think he's overrated.
Yeah. He had a few good games, and I understand why people are hyping him up, but like, it's the Josh Allen effect here.
Wow, across the board, overrated.
I like Gabe Davis a lot, but
if you pull up Keep Trade Cut and look at some of the receivers after Gabe Davis, you can't. Like Gabe Davis is wide receiver 39 after Gabriel Davis. Pickens at 40, Jahan Dotson at 42, Claypool at 44. DeAndre Hopkins 45, Hunter Renfrow 46, Kirk 47, Tony 48, Gallup 50, David Bell 50. Like I'm taking a lot of those.
He's priced pretty high based on people looking at his playoff game and how he kind of ended the season. Yeah. And expecting that trend to continue, where I don't think that trend actually continues for Gabriel Davis. But he has like a very staunch supporting group, like a very tight-knit group who will be Gabe Davis till the end kind of thing. So
I feel like Gabe Davis is like a root beer, where it's like
your analogies have been wild.
Dude, this is a good one. Joe Herbert, I'm making up for the last one. He had, because you're right, he has this small group of people that absolutely love him. I feel like it's the same thing with root beer. It's like root beer, it's got that small niche group of people that are like, dude, fuck
root
yeah.
beer is generally liked.
Root beer. Hell yeah, bro. Root beer city. I'm looking at the fridge of receivers. Okay, yeah, he's not in the top couple shelves. And I'm going down to the other shelf, and you're saying some names that I think I'm a little more interested in, right? Like Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, potentially. Like I think I'm just grabbing those guys out of the fridge instead of Gabe Davis for now. Even though I don't hate Gabe Davis, I mean, I think he's a good player. I think he has a lot of long-term value. Dude, he's so... I want to say underrated, but the price is pretty high. So I'll say...
I think Gabe Davis is more like a ginger ale, if we're going with the soda analogy, where it's just... Generally, people don't like him, but, if you're sick and you're looking for something, you're just desperate, it's where Gabe Davis gets all his love. Oh, he's the wide receiver 2 on the Buffalo Bills. He's going to be great. It's where you get your ginger ale from. All right, now we got our analogies done with. The rest of the receivers on the Bills, I'm just going to reveal all the rest of mine right now. Khalil Shakir and Jamison Crowder I actually kind of like at their prices. I think Khalil Shakir is fine. I'm the only one who's saying that he's underrated. I just think young wide receiver on this offense who actually have a chance.
we're gonna get into the receiver later, but there was a second round rookie receiver also drafted by New England that is below Khalil Shakir, and look at both their draft capital.
Yeah, I think that Khalil Shakir, my problem is that I didn't like his film. I think that the numbers, not that they were inflated, but they didn't tell the full story. I just feel like he's a slot guy that struggles to separate. And I mean, he's good with the circus catches and contesting catches. I think he'll be like all right, but I don't think he's going to produce enough to be fantasy relevant. And I think that the Buffalo name brand, I'm attached to Josh Allen with a rookie, I think that that's just the hype. And I think that personally, McKenzie is just a more, I think that he'll have a bigger role in the offense than Khalil Shakir will.
I just think day 3 receiver, for the most part, I try and shy away from, and he is a day 3 wide receiver, but I mean, so is Gabriel Davis, and look how high Gabriel Davis is ranked on this team. I just think he does have that chance to improve if he ends up getting even a little slightly.
Gabe Davis is Vanilla Coke, looks mundane, but will surprise. Vanilla Coke is fire. I love Vanilla Coke. I think Vanilla Coke is in my top 2 sodas.
I was gonna say that's crazy.
I might change him to underrated just for that.
I don't know.
Wait, Gabe Davis underrated?
Is that that's what got?
First off, that comparison is disrespectful to Vanilla Coke. So that's my initial issue.
Lost in all this is, I think, Jamison Crowder across the board underrated.
Yeah, Jamison Crowder. We've talked about him before, but he's just a guy that's kind of slid under the radar in free agency.
How is he still only 28?
Well, that's the thing. Everyone is saying like Brandon Cooks is the slept-on guy. I think that Jamison Crowder is the budget Brandon Cook.
Great point.
Everyone. Brandon Cooks is almost reaching the Allen Robinson theory, where it's like everyone's saying he's underrated, so he's not underrated anymore. Now he's like, people are actually paying high prices now that he's like actually a vet. Whereas Jamison Crowder, I think realistically he's more expensive than this wide receiver 93 price.
All right, wait, quick! Everyone, show their hands. Where Jamison Crowder go to school?
Oh, it's
this was a trivia question earlier, and
I don't know.
I forgot where he went, and I was like, oh.
I'm putting my hands down, but I give up. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I have no idea. No shot. I'm gonna go.
It was a tiny little school.
I feel like it's got like SW in it, something like that. I don't know.
It's like Rhode Island.
No, you guys have definitely heard of this school before.
Is it SMU?
Nope, it is Duke.
No way.
Yeah,
no way.
He's a North Carolina guy. There's a trivia question.
Would never have guessed that.
Yeah.
No.
I can't believe he's 28. I would have thought he's like 30.
He's been around a while, Lounis.
I know.
Dude,
no,
2 years ago, he was easily
30s.
the best receiver on the Jets. I think that he's just like, if we're looking at him versus Khalil Shakir, I just think he's wildly more talented than Khalil Shakir is, and will fit in. Like, I even think he could be more productive than Cole Beasley was the past couple of years. And Cole Beasley was one of those dudes that was in that mix and paradox kind of range. As of right now, Crowder's in that mix and paradox kind of range, but you can pick him up if you want to. You can go out there and do a consensus overpay and get a very productive receiver, or trade into him in a flashy trade, right? You trade your young receiver. Give me a name.
Young receiver.
Jerry Jeudy. You trade your Jerry Jeudy for Jamison Crowder, and then whatever draft picks are worth Jerry Jeudy, so that you get realistically a similar level of production. Yeah, you lose out on the upside, but then you pick up good draft capital instead of putting all your eggs in the volatile Jerry Jeudy basket. Maybe he's not the best example, but someone like that.
Kind of like that.
I mean, something that I might actually do, something more actionable. Claypool's consensus value going into Crowder, like Crowder in a second for Claypool or something.
I like that.
Yeah, I know Lounis will say you're selling low on Claypool, but he's the kind of player that I want to get out on him. So I think that I might even be getting more production out of Jamison Crowder than Claypool, and I'm gaining draft picks.
All right, moving on to the Jets.
No, the Dolphins.
Dolphins. Sorry, wasn't looking at the screen. Dolphins. Moving on to the Dolphins. Jalen Waddle, overrated. Feels pretty easy for me. Frank goes down the line, just overrated all of them.
I don't think I'll be trading for a Dolphins receiver.
Yeah, Jalen Waddle is not better than T. Higgins in my eyes. He's not better than DJ Moore. He's not better than, I don't know, a few of these other guys that he's ranked above.
I put it at wide receiver. I put overrated. It's just because I wasn't going to pick underrated. I don't really have an issue with him around like that range. I just had to pick one. So I'm not as low as I'm closer to probably Jake than you and Frank, even though I have overrated.
Yeah, I think that Jalen Waddle is closer to Devontae Smith than he is to a top 5 receiver. Yeah. So I think that that's my issue. I can understand. I like Jalen Waddle. I think he's a fine player to hold, but I just don't want to pay a wide receiver 6 price, and I think that there's a better chance he goes down than up. But similar to the Stephon Diggs thing, I do think that Jalen Waddle will be productive and that he will be a decent player. Just wide receiver 6. I'm not going out and trading for Jalen Waddle in any of my leagues. At this price, no shot. It's just not worth it.
Should I have Waddle or DK?
DK.
Give me DK.
Frank, I thought it was funny that you put everyone overrated, and then I looked at how I filled it out, and I had everyone as overrated. So
virtual fist bump, JT.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill, we'll move on to him now.
Trade Juju for Crowder and a pick. I kind of like Juju though, but I think that I could definitely see it.
Tyreek Hill, he's aging. I feel like that still hasn't necessarily been priced in.
I can give my case for the underrated. I have him in around the same tier as Stephon Diggs at that wide receiver 10 spot. They're both 28. I think the Tua thing's being overwhelmed because I think Tua's going to have a big step this year. And Tyreek Hill, I know it's all Mahomes stuff. I pulled up some numbers. In 17 games without Mahomes, he has 87 catches for 1,399 yards and 9 touchdowns, including the last 3 all round. Let me see, 9 for 140 in a tutty, 9 for 76, 7 for 109, 6 for 88 in a tutty, 9 for 185 and 2 touchdowns. I think Shanahan, coming from that Shanahan offense, I think they're going to be really creative with those two guys and kind of make it easier for Tua. Like we saw, it's not like 49ers had a great QB or a great arm strength, and the way they use these receivers similar to how they use Debo. I'm not saying one of them is going to be the Debo role, but I think they're going to do a lot of elements with what they did with Debo with both those guys. I still think both can be productive.
Who are you guys more concerned about with the offseason moves? Devontae Adams leaving Aaron Rodgers to go to Derek Carr, or Tyreek Hill leaving Mahomes to go to Tua?
Devontae Adams.
See, I think it's Tyreek Hill.
I'm more concerned with Devontae Adams.
I'm more concerned with Adams.
It's just a skill set. You can get you give Tyreek Hill the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and it's fine. He's going to make someone miss. Devontae Adams, not that he's not going to get open, but
you're acting like Derek Carr can't get to him.
I mean, he can get it to him, but
he's not Aaron Rodgers.
There's also those middle of the field, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, 2 guys that could also easily get open. And I'm intrigued by Miami's offense.
I just think my problem is that I feel like this is a year where there's going to be a large changing of the guard at receiver, where we see guys like DJ Moore. It's already been changed a lot.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that this is the year that we could really see it firmly cemented, where we see the DJ Moores and all those young receivers in that tier take over for these established vets that have been productive, but to me are on the way out.
All right. So the rest of the Miami receivers, we all say overrated. They're all going to be behind Gesicki anyway. So
John Smith more concerned about Adams because Tyreek Hill, just the weapon ability, right? Just nasty with ball in his hand, speed.
Yeah, but I think every league I play in, you don't get punt yards.
No, more so my thing has been Tyreek Hill has still always been effective in his career without Mahomes, including while Mahomes just missed games and Matt Moore, Chad Henne had to fill in.
I feel like Devontae Adams has been.
The thing that I hate about
Devontae not as much of that
situation is that I feel like he just kind of sold out for the bag. Which, all credit,
which you should do.
I would probably do the same thing if I were him. Right? He's got the rings and whatnot. Go get the bag. But for production, that kind of just scares me a little bit.
I understand.
I mean,
Again,
Devontae Adams did the same thing.
Did he? Was that purely for contract move, or were the Packers just not offering him a contract / franchise tagging him?
They franchise tagged him, and then he also wanted to play with his buddy Derek Carr, his college roommate, but Vegas did give him an absolute bag.
I don't know. I think I agree with you guys. I'd probably be more concerned for Adams. Joe Herbert's right. Adams was like the offense.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I don't think Renfro or Waller are just going to disappear.
Yeah, but Devontae Adams in 2017, when Aaron Rodgers was not there for half the year, still finished as a top 12 wide receiver.
What were his stats?
He was the entire offense.
Because those 17 games without Aaron Rodgers, I can put that up against Tyreek Hill's 17 games without Mahomes.
Yeah, but all right, you're telling me Hunter Renfro is really biting into Devontae Adams'
you
target share?
Arguably a top 3 tight end in football who's a target machine on that team.
Yeah, he's not Devontae Adams.
I mean, no, but
he's not Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams is going to eat on that Raiders offense. All right.
Rolling right along to JT's New England Patriots here.
Yep.
Their receivers are a real ragtag group of guys. There's no other way to...
Oh, no, go on, Jake.
There's no other way to put it. I think they're just a very mediocre group of wide receivers here from top to bottom.
They didn't really help themselves in the draft, but...
I don't know what to do with them at all. I think Jacoby Myers is underrated at wide receiver 64 just because he is a reliable wide receiver 3, I guess, if you're really going to go that way, and he's not priced like that.
He put up wide receiver 3 numbers last year. I don't think Tyquan Thornton's going to really eat into his share. I don't think Devontae Parker is going to eat into his share. And he scored, 1 touchdown last year?
John
2.
Smith, LOL ragtag group, another way of saying trash.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really help themselves.
Yeah, but the thing is that I found interesting is that this offseason for Jacoby Myers, probably, if you're a Jacoby Myers truther, probably went just as well as you could have handpicked. And his price has gone down from last year, from the middle of last season.
Yeah, I think he's still the lead dog on this offense.
So yeah, I have Jacoby Myers as underrated. He's not the flashiest. I don't love him long term, but I agree that he's probably going to put up similar numbers last year. He's probably going to put up more touchdowns. So I think he could have a wide receiver 2 season. I'm just not sure how sticky long term that's going to be. The only other guy that I have underrated is Devontae Parker. I actually do think Devontae Parker shows up and has a decent workload early. But can he stay on the field? Because I think in talent, you can make an argument that Devontae Parker is the most talented. I think that's a consensus take that Devontae Parker is the most talented receiver on this team. I think if he's healthy and playing, he's going to have a role and get a low-key amount of targets. Dude, when he played last year, he was decent. He just wasn't on the field enough.
Yeah. I don't think he's on... I just think at this point, the injury concerns. I think it's gonna be one of those where a bunch of guys have maybe like 500 to 750 yards, because you got to include the 2 tight ends, 2nd round pick receiver Jacoby Myers, still have Kendrick Bourne, the Bourne ultimatum.
The Bourne ultimatum.
Yeah, but I think when push comes to shove, Tyquan Thornton versus Devontae Parker. Yes, Tyquan Thornton has more upside. I like Tyquan Thornton in the draft a little bit. He is a 2nd round pick. I think when push comes to shove, though, if we have to put our lives on the line, who's going to be more productive next year, Tyquan Thornton or Devontae Parker? I'm easily taking Devontae Parker.
I think he has the higher floor. He's gonna you don't just give up. I think they gave him a 3rd round pick for him. You don't just do that to have him sit behind random players on your bench, like the likes of Aguilar, Bourne, N'Keal Harry, even Tyquan Thornton that spent the 2nd round pick on.
That's a good point. And N'Keal Harry has the highest upside of this team. He's got the most talent.
Should I create one?
All right. Any other takes on this team?
Okay.
Nope.
What does Alexa got to say over there, Jake?
Oops, I hit the wrong button.
Chilling. Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay, so we got the Jets now.
And with the Jets, I'm going to just reveal all mine here. Garrett Wilson, I feel like, is pretty high at wide receiver 18 when I don't even think he's the lead receiver on this team. I think it's probably Elijah Moore. But, you know, I think it's very high to rank that kind of receiver. Elijah Moore, though, I still also think is overrated, funnily enough. And Corey Davis, I think, is underrated. I just see all these three guys kind of having their own, you know, like 20% target share for the three of them. Like, I don't think there's going to be a big difference.
Maybe for this season. The reason why I say underrated for Garrett Wilson is not looking at just solely what I expect from him next year. I mean, you guys have known I've had Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 1 for the draft for a couple months. This is more so just, I think we've seen so many of those young receivers, like with what they show, it's so easy to get into that top 12. And I just think he's going to do it. I just think he's talented enough to do it. Jake London's already up at 11. So I don't think it's out of the realm to say Garrett Wilson. I actually could say pretty confidently he'll be easily in the top 15, maybe top 12 after the season in Dynasty wide receivers.
Yeah, I think it's close for me because I really like Garrett Wilson, but I can see why he'd be overrated. But I think at the end of the day, I agree with you, Lounis, in that when you look at a lot of the receivers that are ahead of Garrett Wilson, I think that Garrett Wilson's a better prospect. I really don't think that I think that a lot of the offense concerns that people have and the mouths to feed argument in New York isn't really as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. Garrett Wilson's got a chance to carve out his piece of the offense, and I think he'll do that. He doesn't need to have a crazy year. He's just got to have a pretty decent rookie year, and he should be pretty highly valued. I think same thing with Elijah Moore. Like Elijah Moore has been kind of getting like discounted as the offseason has gone on.
I think
Elijah Moore's got a very safe player to invest in right now.
I think originally he got a little bit overrated, and now I think after the Wilson pick, he kind of turned to slightly underrated. Because I think people were just super reactionary.
Yeah, I really like as the offseason's gone on, I really like Elijah Moore. Because I think you can make a clear argument that he's okay. Yeah, Garrett Wilson's got the draft capital, but I think Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore should probably be pretty similarly priced, given like all things considered. And you're getting a clear discount on Elijah Moore compared to Garrett Wilson. I think that it's understandable, you know, the rookie hype, the draft capital, and all those things, but
I'm gonna switch to underrated on Elijah.
I just feel like there's not a lot that is gonna go wrong investing in Elijah Moore at this 4,600 price, or moving from one of these receivers that's higher rated than Elijah Moore into Elijah Moore and netting some value. I think that's a move, if done and able to do. It's hard to do. You can't always do it, but if you're able to do it, is a very savvy dynasty move.
Yeah.
He was one of my suggestions earlier for if you're trying to move off Debo, like moving off Debo for maybe Elijah Moore and another piece, like a pick.
I'm pretty sure he was like one of the better receivers in both against man and zone, Elijah Moore.
Yeah, he was.
And yeah, I don't know. I guess the one last thing in Elijah Moore, everyone's going to bring up the splits with and without Zach Wilson, but there was a couple drops that he had when he played with Zach Wilson, from what I remember, that
early in the
probably
season
hindered his stats
early in the
late
season.
a little bit. So yeah, I like Elijah Moore. I guess lastly, because we're split on Braxton Bears, Corey Davis is very interesting. It's almost like I guess we're consensus underrated on Corey Davis. I guess we all think that Corey Davis is still going to have a role in this offense.
I just think 81's too low.
I think so. Jake was the only one that said Zach Wilson was overrated. Sorry. And I think if we all kind of think that Zach Wilson is good, Corey Davis should have a good season as that third wide receiver. Like, he should be, you know, much higher ranked in my eyes if we all think Zach Wilson is going to be good.
I don't know. I just think he's the only vet that's really going to see a consistent playing time on this offense, and I think he's going to just be solid. Nothing crazy, but I think he's going to get himself, 700 yards and a couple touchdowns, and he's going to be better than receiver 81.
Barrios Truthers. You guys want to say any last words?
Breakfast boys. Cooper Cup.
Ice cream
Braxton
lads.
Berrios. Yeah, the ice cream lads.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's a Jets fan favorite. Good little player.
He's just fine.
Every Jets fan loves him. Yeah.
I don't know. At how low he is, I don't really, 1,000 points. It's
Denzel Mims can fuck off.
Oh, Joe Herbert saying Elijah Moore's the wide receiver 2 from last year's class. That's pretty spicy. Damn,
Whoa,
that's really spicy.
So you have him over Devontae
Jalen
Smith
Waddle.
and Jalen Waddle.
That's
I like
nice.
Elijah Moore a lot, but that's a lot.
See, I mean, dude, I think if I had Jalen Waddle, I would try to move him into Elijah Moore plus. I'm not sure you
Not
can
bad.
get
It depends on the plus.
but,
It depends on the plus.
Like if you
You're not
could get a
gonna get a
second,
lot.
if you get a second, is that worth it? Is
Probably
that
not.
fair?
I just think at the price of a second, especially in this draft class, both guys are just going to hold on to their guy, if you know what that means. Because I'm assuming both of these players, they're rookies, they were probably drafted by the owner that has them still. You're probably not going to want to move off that for just the price of a second. I don't know.
It's finicky because the same Elijah Moore's comp to T. Higgins a lot this year, which I think is a decent comp. I don't disagree with it. And from what I saw, T. Higgins was a little bit more crapped on in the keep trade cut and the rankings than I think a lot of the managers actually thought. I think a lot of the people that had T. Higgins thought T. Higgins was a wide receiver 1, or at least had that wide receiver 1 potential. I think a very similar thing could happen with Elijah Moore here, where it's like, dude, who is selling him at wide receiver 24 price, if we're being honest? You're not going to the beach and picking up a lemonade on the beach at regular lemonade price, as if you're driving through your neighborhood and little Johnny's got the lemonade stand set up. You're paying a little bit of a premium. You're on the beach. Right? You're going to have to do the same thing with Elijah Moore. Little Johnny might be selling Elijah Moore for wide receiver 24 price, but when you're at the beach, man, you got to pay that premium.
Yeah, man. I understand. I think the Jets offense is one of the most interesting for fantasy next season. I'm so fascinated to see how all those guys do. Breece Hall, the receivers, Zach Wilson.
I think one thing with the receivers that people aren't appreciating enough, because I can understand looking at Elijah Moore, Garrett Wilson, you're saying, okay, well, are they really both going to have top 24 seasons? But you have to remember, there is future value priced in to these prices. It's not, oh, we're pricing these guys both top 24 because we know that they're going to finish top 24. It's like, okay, if Garrett Wilson finishes wide receiver 25 points per game, he's probably going to be pretty stagnant in price. That's probably a good rookie year for Garrett Wilson.
That'd be a great rookie year for Garrett Wilson. With just how that offense going, again, I'm intrigued by it. That offense, Miami's offense, San Fran's offense. I think it's going to be fun to watch.
This is a weird division with some of the prices. It feels like there's a lot of either extremely high-end players and low-end.
Yeah.
Well, the running backs, just other than Breece Hall, continue to be dreadful in the AFC East. You never get those good running backs coming out of the AFC East.
Yeah, we did hit on that last year. We were like, yeah, we don't want any of the running backs. I guess Damian Harris we missed out on a little bit.
A little, but still, he had a great season by his
we might
standards.
actually
and he's
have
still
him
RB32.
consensus underrated. I don't remember.
We generally
did
liked him.
have Damian Harris underrated.
At that time, I feel like you would have been right to say he was underrated.
Yeah.
I feel like last year, especially, all the Patriots were underrated because there wasn't a single Patriot that was a 2 in their position. I think outside of Hunter Henry.
No, our ultimate call was the Jacoby Myers thing, early in the offseason. And then the commenter who
that was great.
Yeah, it's who's giving up, what was it, a late second or a third?
Yeah, who's giving up a
late
late second for Jacoby?
Yeah, then by the end of the season or at some point in the season, you were able to trade him for an early second.
All right. I think that's a good place to cut this episode, though. We ran kind of long. I would
we'll
like
do
to
the
get back to
startup
our
draft
start.
next week. I gotta cut that out of the title. I mean, honestly, like we're probably just gonna be doing this again, and we're probably gonna be taking too long.
We can figure out what to
thank
do.
you.
We might cut like the new segment or something, and then try to rattle them off quickly.
Yeah, we could do that.
Skull goes hot chicks, root beer, and lemonade. Life is good, man.
Oh yeah, I was throwing out a lot of drink drink analogies this episode.
By the way, I know we literally thinking of this on the spot. We might have a rescheduling next week with when we film, or no, in 2 weeks or 3, when our fantasy draft is happening. Florida trip. Because a lot of people are leaving on Wednesday.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so we'll keep you posted.
Do it Tuesday.
Or
we could do it in Florida.
That would be fun too,
dude.
But,
on the beach or at the pool, at the pool live stream,
poolside live. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on what the scheduling is going to be. It's for that week of like June 20th to the 26th. We'll keep you guys posted what days we're going to be recording that week, because it might be different than our normal Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yep.
So we'll let you guys know next week.
Also, I'm gonna get that fantasy league going for people that put the sleeper usernames in. I was kind of, I'm getting going on that. So I'm gonna add everyone to the league, and we'll get everything situated. So be expecting that if you put your username in.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We love you guys. Let us know who your overrated and underrated players are for the AFC East. I'll read through all the comments. I'd love to hear your guys' opinions. Thanks, lads. We really appreciate it. See you guys next week. Or actually, tomorrow.
Thank you.
Tomorrow. See you guys.